in a show in which Molyneux tore apart a woman as a bad parent because she works a 9-to-5 job. She hangs out with the kids for like 2-3 hours every day in the afternoon after they get home from work. And he basically argues that you're a bad mother if you don't quit your job just to have babies and take care of kids. Which already sounds pretty misogynistic. His argument is that if you don't spend every hour possible taking care of them, then you're a bad parent. When it seems reasonable to do what the mother did, which is simply to pick the kids up from school at 5 after they're in latchkey or daycare, hang out with them for a couple hours every day, and then hang out on the weekends. And then the mother did family outings with the whole family, so I think he's just off his rocker here. And now my question is this. This was directly after that, and I want to ask you all, is this misogynistic? How misogynistic does Stefan Molyneux sound right now?
But then women was literally revolt. That's when he was starting to get angry, because the little hidden secret is a lot of women want men to make more money than them, because while women might make less money than men, women, I think I read a report, their spending power is about 80 to 90% of all dollars. So while they might make less, they get to spend more than that. So it's actually a good deal for them.
Yeah, like women control like 80 to 90% of household spending. I mean, you don't even need studies for this. Just go to a mall. You know, there's two electronic stores for the guys to wait while the women destroy the planet through vanity shopping, right? I mean, this is just the way it is in society. Yeah, I mean, women are hardwired, and again, this doesn't mean they're on conception. This doesn't mean you can't overcome it. But women are hardwired to look for men with the most resources. And unfortunately, right now, that's the welfare state. Those are the men with the most resources, and that's why a lot of women are marrying the government. I mean, it's just how we're hardwired. You know, as men, we're hardwired for fertility signals, right? Particular waist-to-hip ratios, even features which mean good genes, a little excess body fat, particularly in the form of breasts, which indicate good nutrition, capacity to bear children, and youth, of course, fundamentally, right? Our expiration date is like 3 days after the grave, and women's expiration date generally goes with their eggs. And this is just biological facts. So yeah, women are hardwired to look for men who provide resources, which is why a charismatic, good-looking politician who offers women free stuff is candid. I mean, it's hard to resist. I mean, it's like good-looking women offering men free sex. I mean, you might have some abstract principle that denies it, but you are going to have a pretty strong response either way.
So yeah, that's Stefan Molyneux's view. The reason why libertarians tend to be men is because men are smart and they, they're not trying to marry the government, whereas women are just hardwired to look for sugar daddies. Like, women, they're not like all that smart and rational like us. They're just hardwired by nature to look for sugar daddies, and because the state likes to give out welfare and stuff, the state's like a sugar daddy, so women tend to not be libertarian because they want the sugar daddy of the state, so they like marry the state, which is insane. That's incredibly misogynistic. That's an extraordinary claim, and I would require a lot of evidence. I would need like a load of peer-reviewed scientific material before any kind of view can even be accepted at all. I mean, the thing is, humans have brains, and we can think about stuff. Like, I do believe that there's a human nature in the sense that we all have in general, the similar drives. For instance, it's human nature to get hungry and then to eat stuff. But for the most part, our ability to think makes us varied enough to where we can't be so biologically deterministic like this. So that's kind of terrifying stuff. And I've heard this before in libertarianism, which is the problem with libertarianism in general. It's the problem that they have. They have a diversity problem, which I'm going to really upset a lot of people with this, and I don't want to sound like a radical feminist, but libertarianism is full of the same demographic. And whenever a group is full of one demographic, you're probably going to see some bigoted type stuff in there. And libertarianism is probably, I wouldn't be surprised if it was like 95% middle class, upper class white men. Which is why you shouldn't be surprised when you hear terrifying stuff. Like, I was in libertarian groups before, and I heard this from several libertarian white men of the right-wing variety, that the reason why women aren't typically libertarian is because women, they're all motherly and emotional. And because women are all motherly and stuff, they want the state to take care of everybody like kids. Like, really? I mean, not only do they say that without any proof, not only do they assert this biological determinist view that women just, they're just motherly. Like, what does that even mean? And and then also, they don't take into consideration how much, in terms of people's actions, is just cultural and how much is it biological. Like, are women biological to be so motherly that it would literally make it to where they can't rationally think about and consider politics? Like, is there hard wiring to look for sugar daddies and be motherly so strong, even if it exists, that they can't, reason and think about things enough to where there can be they'll be libertarians? Which, yes, I know there are libertarian women, but the argument would seem to be that they'd be the exception to the rule. The rule is that most women would be too motherly and want sugar daddies too much to ever overcome that with reason to become libertarian, which is really misogynistic. And I think this is what Jeffrey Tucker called brutalism, which is basically just libertarians who are socially conservative and are really, really, really anti-welfare in all circumstances, no matter what. But anyway, yeah, I actually think misogyny is rampant in right-wing libertarianism, at least. Like, from what I hear, it's even rampant on the left. There's this term called bro-socialism, or manarchists, or whatever. So apparently it's all over the place, mainly because misogyny is one of those things where sometimes you can, like, think that you're not a sexist, but you accidentally act sexist without realizing it. It's pretty easy. For instance, you have to make sure that you don't interrupt women when you're talking to them and all that. And so you actually have to work on not being that way. I'm not saying white men, like my demographic, are inherently those things. It's just that when you're brought up in a culture, it's kind of hard to not be that culture. I mean, people are not full-blown individuals. They're kind of just melded by what's around them, and it takes a lot of effort for them to unmold themselves. And it's nothing to do with biology. And I kind of got on a tangent there. The point is, that seemed to be misogynistic. What he said before was misogynistic. Unless there's hard evidence, that was pretty sexist. And I really want your guys' feedback. Do you think that libertarianism, right-wing libertarianism particularly, has a misogyny problem? That's all. Bye.